Gaza City. We'll bring you back to that situation in a moment or two. But for now, I want to get a little bit more on what is happening with Haggai Matar in Tel Aviv. He's an Israeli journalist, political activist and executive director at +972 magazine. Thank you so much for joining us here on BBC News. It's good to talk to you. I appreciate your time. Just, talk me through a little bit about how big a setback this is for both sides.
Well, thank you for having me in this very dark day. I think it's hard to talk about a setback in a context where political negotiations, peace negotiations between the two sides have completely collapsed almost a decade ago. So it's not as if we were in a situation where there was progress and now we're regressing. Israel has ceased those negotiations led by Netanyahu in 2014. And for Palestinians, there's been an ongoing attempt to resume negotiations, an ongoing attempt to bring back the Palestinian issue into the international awareness and discourse, and they have been losing that battle throughout the past few years. I think the one thing they had going for them was a growing sympathy in international community and international audiences towards the suffering of Palestinians under the Israeli apartheid regime. I think it's interesting and worrying to see what would happen now after this attack, after the massacre and the war crimes committed by Hamas against Israelis. That may definitely harm the political cause of Palestinian liberation.
How much do you think Israel's political crisis has led to these cracks that we've seen in terms of security and the way that Israel is governed?
Very much so. I think the main two issues are one, that the army used to be seen as beyond controversy, outside of the political debate, something that everyone supports and believes in. That has very much changed under Netanyahu. That has started to delegitimize the army, trying to brand it as one of the liberal institutions that it is going after alongside the courts and the media in his authoritarian bend against Jewish Israelis over the past year. And that has led people to say that they will stop serving in the army and made the army seem weaker. That's on the one hand. And on the other hand, this government has been doubling down much more than the ones before it, even though they were all committed to the settlement project in the West Bank. This government has gone much, much further and has sent entire brigades to support and accompany and protect settlers that set up new illegal outposts on private Palestinian land in the West Bank, and to attack Palestinian communities, to burn houses, to kill Palestinians, while getting the backing of the army. So the soldiers that were supposed to be defending the Gaza border were redeployed to accompany settlers attacking Palestinians in the West Bank. So in both those senses, the weakening of the army, which allowed for this unprecedented attack, is something that is very much tied to this government and its policies.
So what next? Where do you think we're going to be moving on from this if these roads that you are talking about end nowhere?
I think the future is very bleak right now. We have suffered this terrible blow, the worst attack on Israel that any of us can remember. And so many of us are grieving friends and loved ones that we've lost. The same can be said in Gaza right now, where over 300 people have been killed over the past day. And Netanyahu promised that many, many more will be killed. And we've seen attacks like this in the past. And we can assume that many people will die in Gaza as well, including families and children. And I think the worrying issue is that the international community tends to only put the blame on Palestinians. We've heard Rishi Sunak, we've heard Joe Biden stand unequivocally by Israel, which of course makes sense considering the dreadful attack by Hamas. But at the same time, we're not seeing similar condemnations when Israel destroys entire Palestinian villages or kills Palestinian families. And it's the international community that's been supporting and allowing and facilitating Israel's apartheid regime and war crimes against Palestinians all these years, leading us to this very dark pathway.
Haggai, it's good to talk to you. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. Thank you once again. And we are now watching these live pictures Well, we were a second ago. There we are, we're back on it. As Haggai leaves us, we just want to show you these live pictures of Gaza City because we've seen a number of, what can only be described as huge explosions in the last few minutes. And you can see